You're listening to hashtag No Filter with Zack Peter. That's me, your naturally platinum blonde pop culture connoisseur. I'm the reality TV junkie, self-improvement addict, and host with only the hottest tea spilled fresh all week long. Those balls have gotten you into trouble, though.
They picked us because we're horny.
Yeah,
right.
And that's your chronic state.
That's 24/7.
My life has changed so much that it's almost like a completely different life.
From the latest news on the Real Housewives,
I'm so happy to be here and engage with you.
deep dives into celebrity legal scandals, and unfiltered convos with your favorite stars, I've got you covered. And yes, I always keep receipts. All right, you may recognize him as the hunky husband on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, or maybe as the star of Netflix's Buying Beverly Hills. Please welcome the author of The Dealmaker, How to Succeed in Business and Life Through Dedication, Determination, and Disruption, Mr. Mauricio Umansky.
Hey, how are you? It's so good to be here with you, Zach. I appreciate it tremendously.
I have already started diving into the book and I'm already loving it. I have my Post-it notes, my highlighter. There are so many good tips and tricks, which is exciting for me because I love anything self-improvement, self-development, and I love that there's a mix of like family, relationship, and business in The Dealmaker.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it. And I'm so excited to have it out there. It's stressful when you're putting it out there and your people are starting to read it because you just don't know, right? Like, are people going to love it? Are people going to hate it? I think it's some really fun, entertaining stories. And then it's a lot of life lessons and insights, as for me, my experiences, right? So, what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to write a how-to book. I didn't want to write, the 5 steps to success, the 3 steps of being the best salesperson on the planet. Like, I wanted to write memoirs, experiences, tell my stories, tell you what happened in my stories, and what I learned. And then I hope that finds you, find somebody that touches you and your story through your own experiences. And how does that make you better? And how do you end up, learning something from that and taking something away?
And it's good because every chapter has like a good anecdote and like a tangible takeaway and like a series of bullets that you can kind of like take away, like the lessons from each chapter and each experience.
The mantras, right? At the end,
Yeah.
My Mauricio's mantras. I think they're so important. And it just, again, it's my little tidbits and my little lessons that I've learned through some really great, stories and some really fun and entertaining people in the world. Yeah, I just think it's an exciting thing, for people to read and have fun.
Who would you say were some of your mentors getting you to this place that you're at now with this mega successful, the agency, gorgeous wife, beautiful family, gorgeous homes all around the globe? Like, who did you go to channel? Whose mantras were you taking in on the way up?
A lot of them. And a lot of it is, through reading, whether it's Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the greatest generals on earth, right? And learning not only from everything he did great, but everything he did bad, to the mistakes, right? To some of my, my father, my grandfather, my mother, my wife, Kyle, all of these living people that I live with on a daily basis, they're all my mentors. They've all been successful. They've all helped me through a lot of different things. But in business, there's been, a bunch of people that I've called on. And I think one of the most important things that you need to know in business is to be able to listen and to pay attention, because we all need to slow down. A lot of us and a lot of people, the biggest mistake I see is that they're running, they're talking, they're just, they're not stopping and slowing down and listening to what's happening around the world. It's called reading the room, right? And it's understanding, it's analyzing fast. But people like George Pietro, Mauricio Umansky, all kind, these type of people have all been super influential, and I've called upon them. Alec Gore has taught me a little something. I've learned from so many different people, and just one little thing, one little simple thing after the next.
So I feel like we're in this like hustle culture, right? Where it's like go, 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 do, sometimes bite off more than you can chew. What advice would you give to maybe somebody that's like a bit of a younger entrepreneur that's striving for that life balance, that maybe sees all these guys on Instagram that are sitting on private jets and private planes that are consulting or have these Bitcoin businesses, and they're kind of selling you this lifestyle that you think that you can achieve, but the only way to do it is by go, go, go and take on, sometimes more than you can chew.
Well, we all fall to that. And it's the worst thing that we can do. We've got to look, I probably work harder than anybody I know. I've always been the first one in the office. The last one's gone. And then when I get home after dinner, I go to work again. Okay. But we have to have balance in our life. I talk about that in my book, and we talk about, what sacrifices you're making. Instagram, so aspirational and so much BS. Right now, everybody's just out there and they're just giving you a little snippet about what you want them to hear or what you want somebody to see. The private airplane, the yacht, the filters on your skin, all of that stuff. And it just ends up being, something kind of like a fairy tale that we're all chasing that doesn't even really exist. And I think just, understanding that there's a reality and then there's a sub-reality. Instagram is a sub-reality. It's a moment in time that we fix and we make it look like it's incredible and like everything's amazing and happy. And don't chase that. You got to chase your dream. You got to chase your what you want. Yes, we have to work our asses off. Yeah. It doesn't come for free, and it doesn't come without a lot of work. But you gotta have balance in your life. You have to have balance in your life, and that's one of the most important lessons that I teach in my, or that I shouldn't say teach, that I talk about in my book.
And I think one thing that I really do love is the book focuses on not just focusing on the pursuit of profit, but pursuing passion. And when you pursue your passion, the profit and everything else naturally kind of comes with that. And the hustle, it doesn't feel like hustle because you feel fulfilled by that.
That is, you've nailed it, man. I'm so happy, Zach, that you've taken that away. It's I always say the money is the trophy of the reward of the passion, right? Like if we're out there playing, a game, in Little League, Super Bowl, whatever it is, like you win, you bring up the trophy and you hold up the trophy. That's your win, right? In business, the win is money, right? Yeah. That is the trophy. That is the success. But that's not the reason why you do it. You do it for the passion of it. And if you're passionate about something, it's all easy. It's not work. It's not, a sacrifice. It's fun. And you're doing it on a day-to-day basis. Easy to wake up, easy to go to sleep. Life just becomes a lot simpler and a lot, more fulfilling if you're passionate about what you do.
And you also talk a lot about like the values that your family instilled in you growing up. What do you think were the most valuable lessons that they taught you about business and about life?
Well, there's so many, right? And I talk about the value of the dollar, right? Which to me is the value of the cent that my father taught me. And, growing up selling, piece goods, where every cent matters, and I would come back, with an order for 97 cents. And my father would say, well, make it 99 cents. And I'm like, Dad, it's 2 fucking cents. Like, don't make me go work for this thing, But that to me, that value of the cent, and the reason that's so important is because I also take that to the value of time. Money buys time, right? And so there's 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour. And all of those minutes are valuable, and they're all worth something. And if you can make that time much more valuable and a much more minuscule, just like a cent, then your life becomes much more fulfilled, and you actually end up accomplishing a lot more in an hour, in a day, in a week, in a month.
So how do you manage your time, given that you do have so many things that you're balancing? You also want to make time for family and for the kids and for fun as well. That's a big lesson in the book is finding that balance. How do you divide up? Like, what does your division of a day look like?
Yeah, that's super hard, and every day can be completely different, but to me, unfortunately, while I was building the agency and while I was doing all of this stuff, what I did is, sometimes you have to sacrifice something. You can't fit everything in. And you have to understand that too, that you cannot do everything, right? And so for me, I chose to unfortunately sacrifice my friends. And when I say that, I mean, I'm still friends with them, but, you know, I missed lots of lunches. I missed lots of dinners. I missed lots of trips, right? Like, but I did not sacrifice the family, the kids, the wife, all of that stuff. So I made a choice. And in life is about choices. And that's what this book's about, is that you cannot have everything. You actually have to make choices sometimes, and go forward. So, you know, balancing today, to me, what does my day look like? It's complicated, but I can tell you that it's all about balancing is about your mindset and balancing your mindset. You know, so I definitely talk about meditation, affirmations, you know, in order to have a balanced mindset, because if you can have a balanced mindset, you can have a balanced life and make smart decisions to make sure that you do things, you know, right.
And sometimes it's like a 2-minute meditation on an Uber ride from one meeting to the next. Like, it doesn't have to be these big overarching things. Because I also feel like we're in this culture of like, we want success, but we also want this self-care where we want to be able to take a bath for an hour every single night and have a ritual before bed. But it's like, but sometimes you have to make sacrifices in order to get to the point where you have the time luxury of being able to take advantage of stuff like that.
Zack, I love you, man. And I love the way you see life. And I'm so excited, but you are 100% correct. We trick ourselves, right? Yeah. And we're all running around. It does not have to be so long. We don't have time for an hour and a half bath every single night. Sometimes we do and we need it, but sometimes we don't, right? And sometimes you just need to go into a little corner and have a 2-minute, you know, breathing session, put yourself back together and go do it.
So I also feel like we have people like Gary Vee that are putting out this message of like, you have time. There's all this time that you have. If you start a business at 20 or you start a business at 40, you still have time. But then we have other entrepreneurs who are like, you don't have time. You have to act now, act fast, go, go, go. Which lane do you feel like you fall into more?
A little bit of both. You know, I believe that you got to get things done. You know, I live by a pretty simple philosophy, which again is in my book. And it's, you know, Napoleon Bonaparte used to say to his staff when he would get ready for battle, he would say, dress me slow because I'm in a hurry, right? What that means is take your time, you know, to get things done, analyze things slowly, right? Then I live by another Kabbalistic philosophy, which is certainty versus doubt. Once I've made a decision, have 100% certainty and go full in. Have no doubts. Don't be going back and forth. And so that's kind of the mixture of like, no time and time, right? Like get things done now, but take your time on the back end to make sure you make the right decision and you feel good about that.
And what happens when you trust your gut instinct and you make what you think is the right decision and you make a definitive decision and then it comes back to blow up in your face? And it ended up being the wrong decision in the long term.
We are all going to make mistakes. That is so important. We're all going to make mistakes. Recognize them, pivot, but you went full forward. And that's okay. I'm not saying mistakes are good or mistakes are bad, but I can tell you, you want people to have opinions. You want to take risks. You want to make mistakes. I can tell you that, you know, sports, you learn how to ski. You're going down a mountain. If you don't fall, you're not trying hard enough. If you fall, you've made a mistake. You're going to stand back up. You're going to get back on the skis and you're going to ski again. Same thing with life. Same thing with business. It doesn't matter. Like, you know, you're going to make mistakes, but that doesn't mean you can't have certainty in doing that. If you have doubt, you'll never even get to the mistake. You'll just continue. You'll always go forward and backwards and forwards and backwards and live in this moment where you're not accomplishing anything. You're actually just stuck in this vicious circle of doing nothing. And that's the one place that we can't live in. We got to push it forward and keep it going. It doesn't matter whether you make a mistake or not.
Yeah, because I think if you second guess yourself too much, you hinder yourself from being able to even lean in and learn from the lesson of making a mistake. There can't be a fear of making mistakes because I think that's where you learn the most rather than making the successes.
And the next time you're faced with the decision, you're going to go back on that experience, on that mistake, and you're going to make a new decision. And hopefully the next time is not going to be a mistake, but it's going to be something that is super rewarding, super fulfilling, amazing, all incredible things. But in order to get to that decision, you've got to be willing to make a mistake before.
What do you think was the most challenging part of writing this book?
Reflecting, it was very emotional, reflecting, learning, reanalyzing. These are stories and notes that I've been keeping forever. So going through them all, telling the story, And again, I didn't want it to be in a situation where I was telling somebody what to do, but rather like, here's, what happened to me. Here's what I learned. A door closed, another door opened. Something bad. And by the way, that's what the book's about, is all these mistakes. And it's not necessarily mistakes. It's obstacles. You had one obstacle, boom, a new obstacle, something new happened, something better happened because of an obstacle that happened. And that was really hard. Just going through all of that stuff, reflecting, remembering some of the stories, with Kyle, when we were clipping coupons and didn't have a penny, she would go to the supermarket, and, we lived in Beverly Hills in an apartment that we were leasing. And she would, go to the supermarket far away so that her friends wouldn't see her, paying with coupons. So, she's just fucking awesome, man. I love that woman.
Do you feel like in those moments there was like a bit of manifestation, or was it more determination, or maybe a combo of the two?
Zack, it's a combo of both. You need the manifestation and you need the determination, and then you need the motivation to get everything accomplished.
Because most people just want to, put a crystal under the moon and manifest it, and then wait for it to kind of just come to them.
I wanted to do that too, but that didn't work.
Listen, you're doing something right. So you also open up in the book about working for Hilton and Hyland, which is your brother-in-law, Rick Hilton's real estate firm. Was there any hesitation going there in the book?
Yeah, there was, because I want to make sure that, I think Hilton and Hyland, the firm, I think the world of them. They gave me my opening, an opportunity. I did not want that story to feel like it was a gossip story or something up against Rick. There was strictly what that story is. And the reason why it's so important to tell is that if something doesn't happen, if a circumstance, sometimes you need something to happen in your life in order to be willing to take the risk to take the next step. And if that didn't happen with Rick and I, and if that didn't happen with Hilton and Hyland, I would have just been at Hilton and Hyland. I would not have taken that next entrepreneurial step. I would not have taken that. So it was that occurrence that needed to happen in my life.
Yeah.
That gave me the motivation and the courage, to leave and to open up the agency and to do, what I'm doing right now. So, again, that's meant to just be like a story about, circumstances create circumstances. And that's why it had to be told, because it was just so important to be told.
Yeah, because I feel like the impression in the media is that it was like a nasty, bitter falling out and you stole clients and became competition. But, in the book, I read it as like you didn't feel like you were being valued at the company and also had bigger aspirations for yourself.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, that is the bottom line. I did not feel valued. I had aspirations. I wanted to create something. I wanted to create it for Hilton and Hyland.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we didn't see eye to eye on that. And it was that obstacle and that door that closed that allowed me to have the courage to move forward and, ultimately to do something, that I'm glad happened.
Yeah.
And I don't look at it back. I don't look back and think like, shit. I look back and say, thank you.
Which is good, because I mean it propelled you forward rather than standing back. But that's also a scary leap to make when there is the security of staying at a firm that like you at least already know what to expect, and you already know that there's a guaranteed job and a guaranteed position rather than building something new for yourself. That's a scary thing, because that can easily blow up in your face.
It can easily blow up in your face. And if you don't get into that uncomfortable zone, you're never going to do something incredible. I mean, I can tell you that I have not had many sleepless nights in my life, but during that time that we were building this and starting this company and getting everything going, we had a lot of sleepless nights, a lot. It was extremely stressful and it was uncomfortable. And there were days where, we weren't sure we had enough money to continue. We never took on debt. And we just made it happen, right? And failure was just not an option. And sometimes you need to put yourself in a situation where failure is not an option, and you have to, force it to be successful. But yeah, you got to get uncomfortable in life in order to do something great.
I feel like there's always this, or at least, growing up in high school and going into college, there's always this like, have a fallback plan, have a plan B. But I feel like, at least for me, and this is my own experience, but I feel like without plan B, you have no other choice but to make plan A happen. Because if you have a fallback plan, then you can easily dip out and be like, well, I have this other thing that's kind of on the back burner.
You and I need to collaborate on our next book. We see things eye to eye, and it's so true. I didn't have a plan B. There was no plan B. Plan A was the only plan out there, and there was no choice but to make plan A work because there was no plan B.
So how do you continue to channel some of those mantras even when the shitstorm hits and it's strong and you feel like, I don't know when this is going to pass. I don't know when the coupon clipping is going to end. I don't know when I'm not going to, feel this anxiety of fear over money or fear over success or, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I think that's just the day to day. You cope with it. You go to work. You kick some ass. You got to be competitive. You got to be fearless. You got to conquer those things because we all have fear. We all have, but it's a question of how do we conquer that, right? Like when I say fearless, I don't mean like, oh, I wake up fearless. Like, no, I wake up with fear. But I got to conquer that fear every single morning, every single day. In order to be fearless and in order to go accomplish something extraordinary. But those are the challenges that keep us going, Zach. And that is what life's all about. And I think that's what this book is all about, is that is what life's all about. That there's a lot of different challenges. It's not easy. You're going to have doors closed. You got to go reopen them. You're going to get fired from a job. You got to go find the next thing. You're going to all of these things happen. And it is part of life. And that's what we need to do is just continue to move forward.
And when it comes to actually making a deal, whether it's a real estate deal closing or just a general deal in life or an agreement with somebody, how do you know when it's time to lean in and how do you know when it's time to fold? When maybe, it may feel like there's a bit of some compromising that you have to do.
So a lot of that goes back to, again, taking it slow, right? Allowing things to sink in, doing your due diligence, making sure it feels good. Not only does it look good, but it feels good. Hire people to make sure that, you need to do good due diligence, because, know what your limitations are, right? But, and then a lot of that is just being able to read the room, being able to read the person, being open-minded, being, completely transparent. I find myself to be a very transparent person. And the reason I'm super transparent to people is because I want to see the reactions as to my transparency. And from there, I usually start seeing their transparency or lack of it. And both of those give me a lot, right? Because if I'm super open and super transparent and I get nothing back, that means that, it's a person that I already know what I'm going to get, right? I'm going to get not much.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can learn as much from what people say as much as from what people don't say or don't do. And it's just a question of being open to that. Again, it's what I call reading the room and analyzing to understanding what you're getting from somebody.
Yeah. Because even if they give you some words, their reaction, their behavior, that's always going to give you a different picture. And sometimes we like to trust the word rather than analyzing the scope.
You 100%. And you don't need to trust every single word.
Do you feel like you and Rick have been, or you and Hilton and Hyland have been able to kind of, smooth things over? Is that water under the bridge?
Rick and I have been on a good time for a long, long time. Obviously, we've seen some of the issues. Everybody's aware of some of the issues that Kyle's had with Kathy, and vice versa. They're sisters. I hope they get over it. I'm going to be supportive of my wife no matter what. Till death do us part. And she's going to be right in my eyes no matter what. But Rick and I have been good now for many, many years. I hope that when he reads this, he sees this as just a story and doesn't get things bad. It's just a story and a circumstance, and there's no harm in anything I've said. I hope, rather than just being part of reality.
Has being on reality television or kind of just opening up your family's lives with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, has that become more challenging for your marriage, or do you think if anything it's made you and Kyle stronger?
It's both. I mean, it's definitely both. This year's been a bit tougher on us. Just a lot of shit, a lot of noise. A lot of noise creates problems, but at the end of the day, you got to get strong and get through it. being on reality television is hard, man. 27 years married, 13 years on reality television. It's a lot. It's a lot, and it's challenging, but I think that you can also end up a lot stronger because of all of the things that you deal with, right? And all of the different bullshit, and so it can make people a lot stronger and be able to survive a lot more things.
And you and Kyle definitely seem to be ride or die for each other. What do you think is the key to finding that partner that's really going to stick it through to the end?
Well, she and I have been through so much together. We met young, we married young. She already had a daughter, my stepdaughter, Farah, who I consider mine, all 100%. I have 4 kids. We've built an entire life together. We've been poor together. We've been wealthy together. We've gone through experiences together. We've watched so many different things happen, and so many life experiences together, that it's just, it's been great. I mean, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
I mean, even now, there are still the rumors. Kyle's not wearing her ring at the gym. So you guys are in a good place.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, she shouldn't be wearing her ring at the gym. If she was, she'd be fucking it up. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
so what would you say is the key to keeping a marriage successful and keeping it going after 27 years together?
Yeah, I think respecting each other is super important. Making each other laugh is really important. Time and balance. Not letting ego get in the way. From my perspective, it's, happy life, happy wife, man. You got to be respectful to it. At the end of the day, you got to respect each other. You got to respect each other's opinions, and also know that, through 27 years, you're also going to change, right? Like, do we change together? Do we change separately? I mean, people change. And I think that that's kind of a critical piece.
Do you think that the fame of reality TV helped the success of the agency? Or do you think, if anything, it was more of a challenge because of the stigma of being in the reality TV genre?
I think it's been a little bit of both. I think all in all, it definitely has helped, but it definitely has, its challenges as well on being on reality TV and the agency. I mean, keep in mind that, before we ever got onto television, I was, I think the number 7 agent in the country, number 1 in the country. So I was one of the, successful agents, before ever being on television. And I think that the agency would have been successful with or without the show. I think the show has helped us gain notoriety. It's been great for marketing. It's been great for a lot of different things. And I think it's been hurtful on a couple of things. I think all in all, I would give it a super positive note, and that it's been, helpful it's been helpful more than hurtful, for sure.
I mean, you've always ranked really high in real estate, but I feel like in Real Housewives world, you always rank like in the top 2 of the hunkiest husbands. How does that accomplishment feel?
Well, I think that's just lucky. That's just born with good genes, and I don't know if that's an accomplishment, but I'll accept it. I love it, and no problem.
I'm sure Kyle's proud of it, I'm sure. Congrats. I saw Buying Beverly Hills just got picked up for a 2nd season on Netflix. What can we expect from another season? Are there going to be some shakeups in the mix?
We're very excited about season 2. We're just getting started. I'm sure there'll be some shakeups. You'll see a lot of great real estate porn, some amazing houses, a lot of great deals, a lot of, I think we'll have an opportunity to dig deeper into the relationships of everybody, and into a little deeper relationship wise. Season 1, I think it was like, the audience was getting to know all of the characters and all of the people. Now it's like, we know you, we know us, right? You know what's going on with me and my kids. They work for me. You've now seen me in a different note than you've seen me before. So now I think that season 2 will allow us to get deeper, to dig deeper into relationships. And I think that should be a lot of fun.
Is it hard
and exciting?
Is it hard putting your daughters out on camera? I mean, obviously they're adults, but I mean, I would imagine heat that comes from the public can be challenging. And how do you help them through that, being that you and Kyle have done it for so long?
Yeah, I think look, we've talked about it. We've been open about it at the house. I mean, my kids, my god, Portia was 1 year. I think she had her 1 year old birthday when the cameras were on her. She's now 15 years old. So I think they're accustomed to it. I think they've got some thick skin. It's all about just being open and transparent and talking to them. I go back to all of that stuff, and they've seen, the stuff that Kyle and I have gone through. They've seen the stuff that Kyle's gone through on her own with the different housewives and all of that stuff. So I think that they've learned from a lot of experiences. They have a really strong mom that's super experienced, and they can definitely lean on her to learn a lot.
What about the whole Nepo baby argument? Because a lot of people are like, oh, he just gave his daughters jobs at the agency. Do you feel like it's an unfair, take on the hard work that they put into the real estate?
Yeah, look, the nepotism, I think, can go both ways, right? First of all, relationships give you opportunities, whether it's your father or your son or your grandfather or your best friends, whatever, right? Like business opportunities are created based on relationships. Yep. Okay. So nepotism is a relationship they have. Now, what they do with it, what the nepotism does, it opens up an opportunity. What they do with it, are they successful? Do they make things happen? That's on their own. Yeah. Okay. And then a lot of times that whole Nepo thing is also a little bit difficult because, I make it even harder for them. Like I actually don't give them a referral, and I give it to somebody else on purpose because I want to prove a point to prove to everybody that I'm not playing favorites. Right. So now instead of them getting equal share, they actually get negative share because I'm sitting here trying to prove a point that they're not getting anything, and they actually get kind of screwed. But at the end of the day, all I can do is open up an opportunity for them, whether they go through that door, whether they're successful or they're not successful, or whether they make something out of it or they make nothing out of it, is 100% up to them as individuals.
Yeah. And relationships really are the foundation of any business. It doesn't matter whether it's a friend or even somebody that you are, when you're meeting a boss to apply for a job, it's about building that relationship to build that connection, because then they're going to trust you a little bit more if they feel connected to you, and then they're going to hire you. And that's just life.
That's just life. I mean, I can't tell you how many emails I get from friends saying, hey, can you do an internship for my friend? Hey, can you do can you give my son or my daughter this? Can you make an introduction? Like, that's how we get into country clubs. That is life. Okay. So
it's the power of networking. People need to stop complaining on Twitter and network a little more.
That's right.
So what do you hope people take away from this book? It's on sale now. People can go on Amazon. They can head to their local bookstore, get a copy of it. But what do you hope they take away from it at the end?
Just a couple of insights, a couple of life lessons that they learn for themselves. How to have balance, how to be a better person, how to be more efficient, think a little bit differently. If I can just, help you think a little differently, a little better, look at life, through a happier lens, I'll be thrilled. I mean, I can tell you I'm an extraordinarily optimistic human being. I'm a super happy man. The stories that I tell here and the way I look at life are the traits and the philosophies that make me be that person. And if I could just change a couple of lives, help a couple of people be a little happier, a little more efficient, a little more motivated, a little more competitive, a little less fearful, any of those things, mission successful.
There we go. The Dealmaker, How to Succeed in Business and Life Through Dedication, Determination, and Disruption, on sale now. Mauricio Umansky, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Have a good one.
You got a new fan, Zach.
Thank you.